Lithuania is a country in the Baltic region of Europe. It is a population of 2.8 million people as of 2019. Lithuania's capital and largest city is Vilnius. The official language of Lithuania is Lithuanian. Lithuania politics takes place in a framework of a unitary semi-presidential representative democratic republic where the President of Lithuania, Dalia Grybauskaitė, is the head of state and the Prime Minister of Lithuania, Saulius Skvernelis, is the head of government and of a multi-party system. Lithuania's gross domestic product in 2017 is 41.17 billion USD, while in 2018 is 53.32 billion USD, increasing by 12.15 billion USD. The population of Lithuania in 2018 is 2.87 million, decreasing by 0.02 million since 2017. In 2015, Lithuania joined the Eurozone and adopted the euro currency, while Lithuania litas was the currency used before euro. The United Nations Human Development Index lists Lithuania as a very high human development country. Lithuania is an open and mixed company that is categorized as high-income economy by the World Bank. According to the data from 2016, the three major economy sectors in Lithuania were services, which was 63.8% of gross domestic product, industry, which was 23.8%, and agriculture, which was 3.3%. World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report ranks Lithuania 41st of 137 ranked countries.
Good morning to all of the Board of Ministers that present here today. The purpose I called you all to this meeting this morning is to discuss about the current state and stability of our economy. The main purpose of today's meeting is the rate of inflation and unemployment of our country.
According to our past 10 years data of unemployment, the highest rate of unemployment is in 2010 with a rate of 17.81%. While it dropped to its lowest in the last year, 2018, at 6.92%.
Based on the data on unemployment rate presented by Ms. Linas Kukuraitis, what had caused the representative rates to reach its maximum and minimum points?
The reason why in 2010 our unemployment rate is increasing is because the immigrant of our resident since 2004 to 2016. They are all to do so because to find better jobs at other country or to study abroad. Therefore, our country is facing recession and experience cyclical unemployment. The firms need to remove worker and other resident has failed to secure their job. For the reason why unemployment rate of our country is decreasing will be explained by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Linas Antanas, in Lincoln Vicious.
Thank you, Minister of Labour, Ms. Linas Kukuraitis. So, from what I can see for the past year, the vast majority of immigrants from the Lithuanian citizen itself, because they return to our country back, like it's about 82% on average, while the rest are from EU citizens with 3% and non-EU citizens for 15%. But in 2017, the immigrant trends had changed. The proportion of returning Lithuanians fell to 50%, while the share of EU citizens remained the same, which is 3%, but the share of non-EU citizens increased to 47% for only in 2017. The majority of foreign immigrants were citizens from Ukraine and Belarus, and I think it's because of the economic growth of our country. So because of that, the unemployment rate for our country become more decreased from the past year.
According to the last 10 years of research on Lithuania's inflation rate, it has come to our concern that the highest yet inflation rate for the last decade was in 2009, which is 4.5%, while the lowest that we had seen was in 2015, which is negative 0.9% of inflation rate. And last year, data had shown that the inflation rate in 2018 is 2.46%.
So, based on the data on inflation rate presented by the Minister of Economy, Ms. Virginie Sinkovicius, what had caused the rates to reach its minimum and maximum points?
Lithuania has taken various measures to recover from the high inflation rate in 2009, which is again 4.5%, due to Lithuania's creeping debt. Please, Minister of Finance, Mr. Vilasapoka, to represent the data.
So based on the data, Lithuania's debt on the year 2008, it has reached $7 billion. And it has spiked on the year 2009 as much as 10.5 billion. And it has spiked again on the year 2010. Lithuania's debt is at $30.4 billion.
Countermeasure that was taken produced an immense positive results throughout the years, especially in 2015, where Lithuania adopts the euro currency, producing the lowest inflation rate in the past decade, which is negative 0.9%. These measures had maintained Lithuania inflation rate of that below the 4% requirement throughout the years. Thus, last year, 2018, Lithuania degree of inflation is of that moderate stimulate as in acceptable to investment. How to overcome unemployment rate and inflation rate by using the fiscal policy. First, unemployment. During the year 2010, where Lithuania is having its highest unemployment in this decade, the government practiced expansionary fiscal policies through public expenditure and taxation. To control high unemployment rate, the government took the initiatives to reduce the general burden of taxation on citizens of Lithuania. A reduction in taxes has increased the consumption expenses of citizens. To promote increase in investment so that employment will increase, a reduction in business and corporate tax are commenced. The government also increased incentives given to citizens and also increased government expenditure so that it will directly affect aggregate demand.
Second, inflation. In 2009, where the inflation rate of Lithuania is at its peak, the government take controls and measures to attend to this highly concerning crisis. The government pursued to implement fiscal policy that is non-supportive of aggregate demand to form surplus budget. Applying the latest state-of-the-art information technologies and increasing taxes while reducing incentives that are harmful to the environment and human health. Implementation of taxes that increase the income of those lowest income earners provide favorable conditions for business activities and also reduce social exclusion. Furthermore, the continuation of the structural reform, the social model, and other structural reforms are to strengthen economic potential and long-term financial sustainability. The government also seeks to manage the general government finances so that comply to the impact of ongoing structural reforms and other government commitments on general government finances. To warrant
the compliance with the fiscal discipline rules under the national and EU legislation, thus leading and contribute to strengthen the long-term sustainability of government finances.
To overcome our problems on unemployment and inflation based on our monetary policy, central banks can buy more short-term bonds or government securities. Purchasing government securities will increase the money supply and increase the purchasing power of individuals and firms alike. Central banks also need to lower their reserve requirement so that commercial banks could have more cash resources, therefore encouraging banks to offer loan to public and businessmen. Based on the policy, the government needs to lower its discount rate and interest rate. But as our discount rate and interest rate is already at 0%, we should keep it as it is for now. Based on our data for the past decade, unemployment has steadily decreased from the year 2010 at 17.81% till now the year 2018 at 6.92%. On the other hand, in order for us to overcome the inflation, the government needs to rise its discount rate and interest rate. Banks also might carry out the selective credit policy, which prohibit the lending against certain commodities, also reducing the total credit limit granted to the public. Therefore, the public will spend less and the banks will have more money. Since Lithuania was able to keep its inflation rate below 4% for the past 7 years, since the year 2012, the government could keep its countermeasures for inflation to a minimum.
We can see in the graph the unemployment rate in our country is decreasing every year start from 2010 to 2018. There are various steps that the government has done in order to handle the problem. Like before, we spend a lot in the unemployment expenditure that involve the unemployment insurance, benefit, training allowance for the unemployed, vocational training, and also consulting. We said that the government also implement active measures such as giving vocational training, work rotation, and sharing workplace that can help to employ the unemployed people in existing work and replace the previous workers. It also can provide the possibilities to employ target group that are in high risk to vacant job or help them remain in existing work. For the past few years also, the governments also used the new social model to enhance the productivity and inclusiveness. The reform has made that the labour market become more flexible, also protect better the unemployed, and ensure the sustainability of the pension system. Because of this move, the government indirectly can reduce the unemployment rate even a little, like we can see from the graph. In order to reduce the inflation rates in our country, the government has introduced the new transfer pricing documentation guidelines. After we becoming one of the members of OECD, we need to be aligned with the change made to the OECD transfer pricing guidelines, and our country has updated its transfer pricing regulations. These new rules has introduced the transfer pricing reporting requirement regarding controlled transaction involving the individuals, and the new transfer pricing documentations requirement for entities operating in our country. Besides that, our country also has raised our national minimum wage, which in 1st January this year, the national minimum wage for our country has remained fixed at 6,650 euros per year. Compared to the previous year, our country minimum wage has been raised from 155 euros per month, and this affects that be taken by the government can help to reduce the inflation rate in our country.
And so, to conclude today's meeting, based on the economic data that you ministers presented to me, we can conclude that the unemployment rate is steadily decreasing after 2009, and the inflation rate is steadily reaching its goal to be below or 2%. Then we can conclude that all of the fiscal and monetary policies that we have been applying for these past 10 years have been working. However, the stability of our country's economy is still in grey line. Thus, we are still improvising for a better economic